And I'll start out as I start all that when you come to the mic and people are talking, when folks are talking and when folks out in the audience are listening, I want you to think about change, the acronym. Community helping Aurora's necessary growth and empowerment. Community helping Aurora's necessary growth and empowerment. That means you, everybody out here sitting in this audience that showed up, that has issues with the city or wants to give an opinion or just tell how you feel about how things are going. This is about all of them. Now, over these last number of sessions, I've been to every single one. There have been some very hard questions. There have been some very difficult comments about me, about the police department, about our city as a whole. But the reality is we're here so we can address them. Unless we talk about these issues, unless we talk about unless we ask the hard questions, and talk about some of the hard problems we have in the city, we'll never be able to address them. So in all these meetings, we've come, with open arms. Myself, the police, I'm all with open arms to listen so we can actually make a difference. Because all this is about making a change in our city and empowering our community so Aurora can be the best that it can possibly be. So thank you for spending your Thursday evening. Some of you have been to just as many of these as I have. And I appreciate you continue to come out, continue to talk, continue to help Aurora to make a change.
The first session, we invite people up to speak to the table, keep a 5-minute limit. You come to this mic, you want to address the audience. I put the mic off after each speaker, just for sanity. If anybody can start and down this one.
You know me, you shouldn't say we could talk about anything about Aurora. No, you talk about unity. I'll tell one quick story. Before he passed away, my childhood buddy, Tom Weiser, and I were down at Valladolid about a month before he passed away. And we looked at each other and we said, are we ever not going to be the Batavia people? We said, I was here for so long, I'm still considered part of the Batavia people. And so that was a precious story I had with him, because we grew up together. Now, what I wanted to speak on is the change program. I am offered before the city of Aurora not to judge, but to point out deficiencies as I see them. I have a list of phrases and names that have been used against me by people who should know better. There are 3 ideas about Aurora: the actual Aurora story, City Hall, and the Aurora myth. City Hall is an entity unto itself. The door is readily open to those who agree or say what your ears want to hear. All can enter, but all are not welcome. The Aurora myth involves a group which includes most of the city government. They believe Aurora can do no harm, we all get along, downtown is a huge success, and we are the hub of the Midwest. The actual Aurora story is the only one that really depicts who we are. I know a lot of you want the riffraff out of town to give an air of class and distinction, but those are class and distinctions see right through you. No matter the color of your skin, a lot of you are involved in white-collar crimes, but then you are willing to drag recovering sex offenders, the homeless, and those who have had hard experiences in Aurora through the mud while you sit behind the gates of city government. In regard to the change program, I see it as part of the stack of PowerPoints presented that cost a lot and sit on the shelves gathering dust. Do you think we are so naive that you put it together and only really hear the people that agree with you? Hard experience with the police happen here and we suppress it. Many of those with the hard experiences live in areas with subpar education, economy, and housing, and then add police harassment. Officer friendly in the wealthy, mostly white areas, and marginalized and harassment We call it utopia, upper middle class with good schools and good homes. There is another world where people of color lack opportunity and are prejudged by the police that causes them to fear. Body cams, PowerPoints, and personnel changes are but tokens when the whole system needs changing. The system was built on racial profiling, including harassment and violence towards people of color, and then the police protect themselves through unions that thwart accountability and prosecution. These are the deficiencies I see in this change program and the listening sessions. The people affected by the police system and its racial bias love the city and just want a fair shake. Make changes that are real and affect these people's life for the good, so we can live in the Aurora story and not the Aurora myth. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is lasting just 3 minutes. I can tell you the city council. Right at 3 minutes.
Now I
Next speaker. You have up to 5 minutes.
Move this down a little bit, I'm short.
You can take it off if you need to.
When I came out, I wasn't attacking the mayor, nobody like that. My issue is what's going on. I was born and raised in Aurora all my life. Just moved to Yorkville, but I have property here. And the problem that I'm having is, it's been going on for years. It's just not, it's been going on for many years with APD, with the harassment and stuff like that. Now the city wants me to fix the property and do stuff like that, and I'm working with the city. I'm doing everything I can. I'm taking one step forward, but the city not going 2 steps back. When you have APD coming through, harassing, messing with people, you leave the driveway, they're saying that we're bad people and stuff like that. You know, and I don't think that's good. I'm 48 years old. I've been through a lot of stuff through in the world, but change has to come. You know, and I got 2 boys, I got grandkids, and I know what my grandkids going through, but I had to go through what my son's going through. So what I'm saying is I got a ticket. The other day, the lady just came and made a big scene, and the car was on the grass, and she said it was there for 20 minutes. And I said, well, you see, it's a dumpster. We don't have no parking on this side. And I've been dealing with this with Shakita for years about parking, because I paid many tickets, because you can't park on the street, family can't park on the street. And I understand, back in the 90s, it was rough, but times have changed. It's not like that anymore. But what they're doing is they're stereotyping certain people in the neighborhood, like myself, my family, or other people's families, or one or whatever. And what they do is they put tickets on their cars, or they come and they say harass, or they'll sit there and they'll pull people and leave out the driveway. And it's kind of getting frustrating, you know. And I think that has to stop a little bit, because how do you want us to work with you when you don't work with us? And that's the problem, because it's just too much harassment. And as you see, Mary, here's a ticket. I would like to show you. This is the ticket one of your officers wrote. There's nothing on here. But this is what they came and gave us and said, here, this is a ticket. And think about it, these tickets end up adding up. And I feel like I pay taxes. How do I keep paying tickets every time you look around? It's not right. You're not going to go do that in the other neighborhood, but in the poor neighborhoods, we get tagged, we get hit. And it has to stop, especially with APD too, because they shouldn't have to sit here and stereotype or tag this person, or they say, oh, this is who you look like. I asked the lady, do you know me? She don't know me from Adam. But the simple fact of it is, I know a lot of officers. I know Keith Cross, and I know Ray, you know, go with them. I know you. But the thing about it is, these officers don't know me. They know my name, but don't know me. And the thing about it is just, it has to stop. You know, if you want us to work with you, you got to work with us. And that's what I've been doing lately. I've been trying to clean things up, and you know, it's a lot of stuff. You know, the young guys, I've been talking to them, but it's hard for you to talk to them when the police just pull them over, harass them, and make a big scene. It was 4 police cars that came to the house, just for a ticket. 4 police cars jumped out, made a big old scene. And they shouldn't have to do that, because I don't want to rent properties out. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is so bad, this is all bad. I'm trying to make sure everything's supposed to be good. But my thing is, what are we able to do about this situation with the harassment, the parking, and all that in that neighborhood? Something has to change, because this, I'm paying taxes, I shouldn't have to keep paying these. You know, that's all I have to say.
So when we get to the dialogue section, we'll ask the police to look for examples on the ticketing process, particularly in 740. Next speaker.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Pryor. I didn't come up here to bash the police because that's not my deal. But I just want to say that it's not a black or a white thing. It's a respect thing. If you pull me over, it's all about how you come to my window and how I speak to you. I really don't like the mic, but we gotta hear you. If the police pull me over, I'm not saying everybody, but I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna get belligerent and be pissed off because some lights behind me. They doing their job. It's your job to see that whatever they put you over for, let them do their job. You can be pissed off for whatever reason they stopped you, but it goes further when you run your mouth, they run their mouth, before you know it, it's together again. So I don't believe it's a black nor a white thing in America. I think it's a respect. We done lost respect. I was gone 20-some years before I left. We didn't have this police and black people and white people issue. I came back to this. I've been out almost 3 years, and I don't like what I see. The mayor, he's a good man. He did a lot for Aurora. I witnessed it myself that he's doing the best he can. We have to do our part too. We can't keep coming up here at every one of these meetings or every time we come up here and bash the police, because when we keep bashing the police and asking to defund them, when something happens, who we gonna call? We couldn't call the police, but we wanna be a-holes to them. And don't, every police is not a problem. I don't know if some of these guys in here is part of the problem. I don't know, you don't know, but we can't keep, just because one or two police did something, we look at all police in the same bunch. No. Some of these guys, they just doing their job. They got balance, they got to get home to their people too. We need to learn how to respect authority when we out there. Teach our kids, because it started in the home. I said this in my last, like a year ago. It starts in the home, how you respect authority. If you teach your kids as young men and women to respect authority, when they away from you, they're going to represent you, and they're going to be out there. You ain't have to worry about them calling and talking about they in jail or they done got beat by the police or the police were shot. Because they're going to know how to talk to authority when they approach authority. So, as a young man, my grandmother and my grandfather taught me how to talk to folks. So I never really had run-ins with the cops, is what I'm hearing. Yes, I did time in prison. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But it wasn't because of a cop. It wasn't because I had beef with them. It wasn't because of that. It was because my own doing. At the wrong place at the wrong time. So I want to stand up here today and tell you guys, I respect y'all. Because y'all got hard jobs. We got jobs too, but y'all job is hard. Because y'all don't know who y'all going to run into or deal with on a day-to-day basis. I don't watch the news because I don't like what I see. But on my phone, I see a lot of cops doing good deeds. They don't mention none of that stuff. But as soon as the cop get into it with somebody or shoot somebody or fight somebody, they post that all over social media. But they not gonna put the stuff that show y'all human on there. I seen some stuff today on there. But the cops, you know, they human, went to the neighborhood. These guys was boxing. There was one cop, he was a boxer. He boxed with us, spar with. They put that on social media, but they didn't put it on the big scale. But yeah, he said I got a couple of minutes. I just wanted to let y'all know that I'm proud of get the ones over was the building be on there. Y'all keep doing that.
Thanks, Priest. Next speaker. Time is 5 minutes.
I appreciate this claim. You wait till I want to speak, then you got 5 minutes. Okay. I got to read through my whole, got to modify my whole speech today because he put me in front of me. But okay. Common ground. What does that mean? It means different things to different people, right? We've been talking about listening sessions, but we're talking about the same things over and over again. There's more things wrong with Aurora than your idea of what the police department should be doing, are doing, or not doing. We have Kane County Care Program, but is it limited to that? We got homelessness out here, that funds can be used for that. We got people with Down syndrome, no one's talking about, the handicapped, the ill, the elderly. Every session is the repeat of the last session with the same arguments that go a little bit. So, I wanted to speak about a couple of things that actually are going somewhere. David, this organization has a technological bus that is something I've never seen before. We can build on that. We have a chief information officer in this city trying to bring $300 million to the city to put programs here for the youth, to make Aurora the most technological sound place in the country, city. Where do the people who are the common people every day lie in that agenda? No one's going to put $300 million in a place where they try to make it seem like all of us are bad. We won't benefit from that. So who's going to benefit from it? How can we benefit from it? How can we be a part of that program? You say you want to make Aurora a smart city. They're working with banks like Nexus and things like that. Aurora's going to be a smart city, but how does the city actually get smart? It becomes by listening. Inside of that program, they have to get data to find out if that money should actually be brought into the city. Tell me if I'm wrong, anybody. They're not going to bring $300 million into a war zone. It's a bad investment, right? What do you normally do when you have areas that bring that type of money in or even close? What do they do to the area? Anybody that knows, if you was in Green, Robert Taylor homes, you have to what? Gentrify the area. You get rid of the dissidents, the antagonizers. So if you're looked at as a dissident or antagonizer, you look to be pushed out. So if the police are doing their job is to protect establishments. Their job is to create order, not necessarily listen to small gripes that you may have that may be valid or not valid. We have to think we own our own pain and stop talking about individualism and find out collectively as a people how do we get those who we feel are not listening to actually listen. And not just hear, but actively listen. Then we have to hear one another and how we sound when we only talk about the same issues. That if we cleaned up the whole police department, somebody speak to me with intelligence. We clean up the whole police department, and everything about it you don't like. Everything you want Mayor Irvin to do, he does. Then you go back home broke. You own nothing. You have no future for your children. You have no programs, but they heard you and they stopped jumping on you. That's good. Mayor Irvin heard you and said, I'm going to make sure I stay on them. That's good. Now, what do black people do in the city about not having any economic footprint in the city that's viable to the common man in this city? We have to build. That has nothing to do
was pointing out the wrongdoings of someone else, but we refuse to work together. Yes, there's wrongs on that side. Yes, I don't agree with everything Mayor Irvin does. No, I do not agree with the Aurora Police Department. But I don't agree with this discontent that we have amongst one another that we cannot work together. And the only way we can work together is if one person who is so narcissistic wants to control it all, and we don't work together as a person. The body needs a head, but the body also needs organs and a heart. Also needs a pancreas, and also needs a liver. Play your part and build. We cannot build with all of this discourse. I don't even want to talk to this side of the world. Not because I hate them, but because they're not solely the problem. Not that I'm excusing what they do. They're not solely the problem. You can bypass discourse of others when you work together, but you can't do anything with anybody if you don't work together. We got people who were so angry at the beginning. They looked so upset, didn't they? They growling and everything else, right? Where they at now? Where they at? I don't do this for pats on the backs, barbecues, handouts, paychecks, jobs. I'm not positioning myself. I've worked in others long enough for free that I can say whatever I say and should have your respect, but I don't. And I don't look for it. The work is the work. And we do the work. The joy is in the work. The mission is in the work. There's people getting paid all day long and everybody in this room know it. And don't do the damn work, let's be honest. But they can file from the grants though. They can count their pockets though, can't they? They can do all of that, but they can't do the work. And those who do the work, they vilify them because they talk too much. They talk too loud. They say the wrong things. They step on toes. Let me know what I mean, because you know how I go. Now look.
Do not cut him off.
This thing here is bigger than your individual rights. My brother for real, speaks truth. He may not like the way he's saying. He's emotional because he cares about the city. He's from here. I am not. I care about black people and I care about injustice and fixing it. We're the same passion. But they vilify him, made him like he's a madman. He's not a madman. And he's not crazy. And you don't have to agree. But ain't that what this is for? Listening. Chief Zimmer said something in one of the recommendations. She said, seek to be understood and be understood. She said that at the beginning of her speech. Did you not? Shouldn't that what all of us be doing? Understanding and seeking to be understood. But understanding, listening, and seeking to be understood does nothing if you don't put what you hear into action. We need to see action from both sides. If we have been doing something, it's not because, well, I don't know, some people may just be flat out crazy out there. But some people really have a genuine concern. We look for you to listen and show us that you actually care. Not by words, not by speeches, not by this, but by action. I've jumped into this thing all summer, and I've seen a lot of talking, I've seen a lot of promises, but I have seen nothing stick in the ground that's solid. I've seen a lot of people upset, but I've seen nobody, not nobody. Some people that spoke the loudest not willing to work into the ground with people who may not even agree with on an even plane. Not nothing extreme. I'm going to take my seat, but I want to say this. We talk about change, but the only thing that really matters when we make a change is the mindset of the people. If your mind does not change, nothing you write down will ever help the minds of the people. Anything that's put into legislation is only encompassing upon how the people think about what is written on the paper. The paper is just a paper. You are the work. Assalamu alaikum.
I got two texts that say, give him my 5 minutes. Give him my 5 minutes. Thank you. Being one of our moderators for the shade session, that was certainly the highest ranked session as far as energy. Thank you, Sadiq Rashid, my brother. Next speaker. A couple coming in. We can bring Sadiq back. Thank you, Noah.
Straight to the point, that's why we're here. First and foremost, again, that I speak with the authority of Jesus Christ. So But you turn me away from him, turn him down. We're just going to put that out there. And I'm going to be straight from the word. Isaiah 10, verse 2. They deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. What will you do when I punish you, when I send disaster upon you from a distant land? Who will you turn for help? So, again, I'm here for the children. Because the APD, you guys all know this, maybe not. You guys put me through a lot personally. Already many injustices. But I'm here because of my children. Right? So the problem is that it wasn't enough every bogus case you threw at me. But now your officers are still falsifying police reports because my daughter's uncle works for you guys. Now the problem is that those falsified police reports, they get to the courts, they get to the guardian ad litem. So I've been involved in my daughter's life since she was this, I got a 12-year-old, since she was this size. But you hear a lot of these rogue police officers to do what they have to do what they want to do on taxpayer money, settling the personal vendettas, all the personal scores, and that's why I'm here. So with that being said, again, I find you, Kristen, and I'm sure that you're about the children, and I see the Save the Children post. I'm just going to say it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical because Save the Children, however, with you guys' negligence and you guys' buddy system scratching each other's backs, I can't even do a health and wellness check for my child. Because when the police arrived at the house, within 5 minutes, somehow they completed a full investigation and said I'm harassing my ex. I haven't been to her house since 2012. But again, it's the back of the blue, right? Again, you need to draw the line when it comes to children. Leadership, it starts at the top, so your people on the bottom are a direct reflection of the leadership. Now, God put you here, right? Again, I told you already, you didn't buy your way in there. You might think you did, but God put you here. Stewardship, right? So it's about the children. It ain't about us. I took everything you guys threw at me, everything. But it's affecting our children. That's where the police efforts are going towards. Integrity, right? It starts with you, Chief. Here's a suggestion to you guys. When you guys do your morning briefs, I'm not sure, I spent a lot of time in the Army. We did a brief before every mission. I'm sure you guys do briefs too, right? Get your cops out of the warfighter mindset. Instead of, I'm not sure what you're telling them, but you should be telling them, hey, you're public servants. Not pumping them up. Hey, you're going to get out there and kick some ass, this and this. Nah, man. I'm not there for them, but let's be honest here. You got cops out there, you can shake your head out. You got cops out there that are terrorizing these children. There's these children that have fear of them because of the local police. Get the road cops under control. Maybe get a new person instead of Dan Everett. It's time you get them out of there, right? You just keep sweeping all of our complaints under the rug. You want to talk about leaders? It's great that you guys are here, but why do we have so many police leaders? You guys lead what? Make a force of 300? Why don't you guys make it more comfortable so we can have gang leaders here? They're leading thousands. You think you're doing something because you're leading hundreds? These gang leaders are leading thousands. And the same, these police reports make it to the guardian ad litem and they're trying to make you look crazy, trying to make you look insane. Because even from claiming that you believe in God, your officers are assisting in making these reports that are reaching the courts. Because you believe in God, pay somebody that they should get some kind of mental eval? Come on. I'm going to say it one more time too, because I'm not here because of me, I'm just dirt just like you guys. But I'm going to say it, God's favor rests on the people. Not evil, God's favor rests on the righteous. That's us. What are you going to do with your stewardship? This is about the children. My name's Raphael, it's my daughter Justice. I'm not just here in front of a microphone, this is what we believe in. Blessings be unto you. And favor, strength, and power to the people.
Thanks, Noel. Next speaker.
Good evening, everybody. What I'm going to say is short and sweet. If you guys are not talking about any kind of accountability for misconduct, this is a waste of time. The people are not mad because the police officers make a mistake. Everybody here who has a job makes a mistake on their job. The difference is, when I make a mistake on my job, there are consequences. You don't have any consequences. Young man just spoke about misinformation, perjury on police reports. What's the penalty? We talk about we want non-violent protests. What got you in this room is because of what took place downtown. Before that, you were here. Now, there are some common sense measures that can be taken place to address this issue. Number one, you establish a whistleblower avenue for the so-called good police. We hear about good police, we don't see them because we blew all the sides. The retaliation and retribution that they face when they report fellow officers. Until we get rid of that, we'll never clean up the department. Number two, there needs to be community representation at and during the union negotiations. I don't know why we're not at the table. We're the ones who are going to bear the brunt of all the disciplinary procedures that are laid out in that negotiation. Yet we have no voice. We pay their salary and we have no voice. You ain't gonna never foster cooperation with the police department when the people have no faith or trust in the police department. Now, we sit around here all day long and harangue about the problem. If you're not willing to take any steps to correct the issues, then it's a waste of time. What are you planning to do about this issue? There has been several proposals presented to the city. Up till there were challenges for the mayor's office. They fell on deaf ears. These policies have been out here since June, July. Why are we just hearing about it now? Look, contrary to popular belief, we're not ignorant, we're not stupid. We see this for what it is. If you're not going to address the issues, then stop wasting people's time. Because personally, and I've been in a lot of cities, I'm a military brat. Aurora Police Department is not terrible. It's not. You have some bad apples. You know, the problems that exist here exist everywhere for African Americans. And I'm not talking about diverse, black and brown, I'm talking about black people. I want to make that clear. I am not here to talk about what happens in another community. I don't know what happens in their community. I know what happens in mine. Now, as far as the economic development, that's another subject. Right now, we hear about the police. Let's stick to that. One thing at a time. Inclusion means just that. Inclusion. I'm not going to, like I said, stay up here for 2 hours.
One more minute.
All right. My thing is, I'm going to leave you with 3 words. Accountability, accountability, accountability. The rest of this is just noise. Because people do not change because they want to. They change because they have to. Nobody changes because they want to. It's a process. But if you're not willing to put teeth in your disciplinary procedure, you don't have a disciplinary procedure. And I thank y'all for your time.
Thanks, Randy. We get to the dialogue section, talk about accountability and consequences. The chief was speaking before that, talking about a warrior guardian. I know you speak about that as well. We can talk about that in the dialogue. Next speaker, Mr. John.
I'm right up for it. Justice. I never felt so short in my life. Hi. Sorry, I was like, I'm in emergency mask all day at work, so I'm kind of nervous because a lot of people know me, but they don't know me to a full extent. I volunteered for many people's campaigns. I've done a lot of activity involvement throughout the years of being a Aurora native here. As I stand up here today, I can preach to you guys about what you guys are doing wrong. You hear time in and time out from many people, from various groups and organizations throughout the city and throughout the community, multiple times. So I can do the same thing too, but I'm just not going to do that. Because you've heard it time and time. You've heard it throughout the summer at the city hall meetings that you guys had, pertaining to the right here. People told you throughout those meetings, and I was one of the people who called in, nervous wreck. You can hear it in my voice, you heard it trembling. Because like I said, I don't speak. I don't do the public speaking very often. But I called in because I am concerned citizen about this. Because to tell you the truth, when people told you about this and we complained and we nagged or tried to give our statistics and give our viewpoints and give all that spiel that people have given, that was the time that you should have been listening. That was the time you guys should have taken accountability for those people and listened to the people who were calling in, who devoted their time of people were at work, people were trying to take care of their households, but they still took the time from their busy schedules and their mental health that they've been dealing with and trying to recollect themselves from the pandemic and from almost falling behind on rent. Lord knows I am way behind on rent. So I fear, because I just got back to work, I'm happy about that, but I am so in debt right now that it's a burden that I do not want to have on me, especially me being a mom and needing to take care of my daughter. But I'm certainly taking the time to try to put all of that aside and trying to build a future that would be promising for my daughter. Because if we don't handle the issues that we are dealing with right now, it's just going to continue on. Before I get off topic, I'm just going to tell you a story. A story about a girl who once had hopes, dreams, and ambitions. A person who was very active and involved in her school. Somebody who did multiple extra activities, who did wonderful things. And the reason why I was so active in my school activities is because at home I didn't have the best influences. At home, I lived with a mother who basically ridiculed me, made me feel like I was nothing. So before I can even reach out into society, I was already being given the loss of hopes and dreams and ambitions within my home. Me being active and involved with the community, me being involved in school and everything is what uplifted me from feeling the sight of hopelessness, the sight of negativity. Being involved and being the past president of my freshman class was the best year of my life. I felt like, wow, this is wonderful, this is great. And being young youth and not being the favorite of the family and being the black sheep, and trust me, I am the black sheep of the family. I don't get calls for family events, they don't keep me involved, I'm always out of the loop, I always find out my third or fourth party and everything. And, growing up and feeling like crap about being alive and being able to exist and stuff made me feel horrible. Being involved in school and everything made me feel empowered. It made me feel like I could do anything and the sky's the limit. I thought I had a promising career, a promising future, and a promising career that could be able to extend out of high school, but that was not the case. I had to learn to wake up and smell the coffee, basically. I had to work. I went to school, I went back to school after I graduated from high school. But my career for going to school only lasted to a certain extent because I had to choose between living or surviving. Because when I turned 18, my mom saw that as a way of, hey, you're no longer a responsibility of mine. That hurts. It hurts a lot. Because I didn't have that positive role models at home, that positive person at home telling me, even though society is telling you otherwise, turn out your back. For a parent to not make a child feel like they can go to you, it hurts because then you are dealing with the mindset of keeping your walls up, looking out over your shoulders everywhere you go. Is this person really for me? Is this person really want to help me out or out to get me? Because that's what you were instilled with at home. That is what was drilled into your mind. So you're dealing with your mental health with that and dealing with the fact of trying to see whether or not society is going to accept you. And therefore you go into a cycle of mental health. You go into the cycle of abusing alcohol or drinking and stuff, in which I did because I got into DUI. I have that on my record, so if you want to look that up, yes you can. I speak because I was I was so sad and hurt by so much pain and despair that I had acquired throughout my entire life. And to that point, I got DUI, and that made me feel like crap. It made me feel like I had failed. It made me feel like I was even more worthless. And then because of that DUI, people look at you like, are you invalid? Are you this? Are you that? People right away when they hear DUI, they think you're unfit. They think you're not. They don't look at you as if you're a qualified individual. So I guess I gotta say, I have gotten a taste of both worlds because in high school, I was able to achieve and receive an award from the Greater Chamber of Commerce of saying I had successfully completed the Greater Chamber of Commerce Youth Business Partnership Leadership Institute. And this, because of this certification, is what held me on to the hope that maybe there is a chance out there. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't discredit the 10%. That 10% are the black sheep of the community. We are the people who are constantly want to be loved, want to be looked at as fair people, individuals. We want to be looked at as if we are not the scum or the bums of society. We want to be looked at as people who could be rehabilitated. We can be people who can be able to make better changes of their lives. Because look at me. From someone who's been through so much, and trust me, I can write a book about my life, and maybe one day I will. But I am up here begging you to please take accountability of what is going on. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Good evening, everybody. I sat and I listened to everybody tonight, right? I came to a few of the other listening sessions and I listened. Deputy Chief, I want to tell you thank you. At the Impact Church, after the meeting, taking the time to listen and talk. Thank you. Mayor Irvin, thank you for having the listening sessions. I want to thank you for the transparency. The way that these sessions, a lot of people don't know, I know Brandy does speak. Very few people that's been coming to these sessions for over the 25 years, including myself. The sessions used to be where there were tables in the front, and the politicians and the police officers were in the front. I'm getting chills right now because I know there was a change. That was a big change. Michael Turner, you were in those meetings. The way that we felt this little, because it was us against them. When the change initiatives were happening, someone sent me a newspaper article. And in that newspaper article, it was the last listening session before I had a stroke. It was the last one at Main Baptist. I'll never forget it. Randy Ryder, you were in that newspaper article. That article had me and you standing there. These sessions are different from what it was back then. Back then, it was stressful. There was cursing. There was arguing. It was us against them. During the 3 years that I rehabbed, that thing that Sadiq talked about, the mindset changed. My mindset changed. Unfortunately, even though my mindset changed, there were a lot of officers whose mindsets hadn't changed. See, when I say I come from a little girl over on King Street, I come from when it was good, when it was bad, when it was ugly. I come from when they had the campers back in the back behind apartment buildings, and the gang members would set them on fire because they didn't want the police there. I come from a time, see, I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you what somebody told me. I live this thing. I come from a time where the police only approached people when they were in the act of a crime, when it was maybe alleged that they did a crime. Those times have really changed. Because I can give you stories that come from youth. I heard the young lady say. I heard the young man with the baby say. They came from kids. And I remember when Tom Wiseman Gardner, God rest his soul, I had a conversation with him. It was at the banquet hall out on New York Street. And I just got this problem of speaking the truth. When truth comes to me, I speak the truth. And somebody got to speak on behalf of the youth. If you ever want to hear the truth, talk to them kids. But when you have a child, pure will come to me. I think some of these youth will know what I'm talking about. And there were situations that were happening where the kids would come to me, not their parents, the kids. And they would say to me, well, the police did this to me, the police did that to me, the police did that to me. And I'd be like, well, did you tell your mom? Well, my mom's not going to listen because my mom don't like the police. Or my dad's in jail, and my dad didn't like the police, so you know they raised something to not like the police. But then at a certain time, we have to listen to them. And that conversation that I had with Mr. Wiseman was that there were things that officers were not doing by the book. And it was coming from the children. Now, keep in mind, during that time, this chief of police was not the chief of police. Keep in mind, I'm talking about a man that was the mayor, that unfortunately he's deceased now. This man right here wasn't the mayor. So, what are we doing? What are we really doing? You heard me say when I said who I was, and I said unity. We're missing it. We will sit here year after year after year, session after session after session, and we will bicker, we will do this, we will do that, but we don't come with the questions. How can the mayor answer questions that are not asked of him? How can the chief answer questions that are not asked? That's what these sessions are for. Now, the last session when I spoke, I had a lot going on. I myself didn't have no questions. But in my mind, I did. So today I come here, I told Clayton when I came in, there's some people that's watching live that, and I'm going to say it because I'm a true and honest person, I think some of them would have been just rude if they came here and spoke tonight. Because when they talk to me about the way that they feel about certain things and you're cussing, you're being angry, I'm going to listen to you. But I'm not going to take you at heart when you're speaking out of anger. But see, if you calm down and we come together and we talk and we have a conversation, when those kids talked to me back then, I listened to them. And then I took it to someone. Whether they did something about it or not, that's not my fault. But I listened and I took it to them. So having these sessions is good. But I'm going to give you, Mayor, I'm going to ask you this question. Clayton, you might want to write it down like I told you they asked me. But one young lady that spoke to me a few days ago, and it's about COVID, something that we're all dealing with right now, right? And what she said to me was that when the mayor has these news briefings about the COVID, no one never talks about if we live in an area where she lives in a complex, I'm not going to say the names, we'll talk about it later, that they received a letter, and the letter states that someone in the complex had COVID. That's it. Didn't say where, didn't say whatever. There was no follow-up. So of course, this young lady, who's a kidney recipient, diabetes, is living in a complex in fear, the not knowing. She says to me, what is the mayor going to do about that? So what is the mayor going to do about that? I told her about the listening sessions. She's probably on the line. And I said to her, I'm going to ask the mayor the question. We can talk about it later. To the chief, another question. So this is how I want you guys to know that these are things that from this page to this page, let me get it. But all these pages. Okay. Can I respectfully ask for 2 extra minutes? Okay, because I'm speaking for other people. Okay, I got you. So, Chief, well, someone out there, there's a lot of people with the same question. They want to know. With you as the chief, you can't be held accountable for what everyone, all other officers do, right? However, when there are certain officers that continue to do things over and over again, they talked a little bit about it, you know, well, I think the union person talked about this at one meeting, but they just want to know if it's the same complaint over and over again, the same officer the web, right? But they want to know, what do you really feel personally about having officers that are disrespectful to the people in the community? How do you feel as a chief having to be their leader and getting that disrespect because your name falls on? Those are the only two questions that I'm going to leave to you, Mayor, and to you, Chief, and to everybody else. If we do come together in unity, we are so much more powerful people. And I tell people all the time, what do we expect them to do for us? What we can do for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for the questions. We are coming on the last 7 minutes. Last 7 minutes. You have 5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right, everybody. My name is Ricky Rogers, and I'm glad to be a part of the city of Aurora, to be a part of this change that's going to actually take place. I don't believe that we're just sitting here wasting our time. I think in 2020, it's a time of vision. It's a time for things to come to fruition. It's a time for the people's voices to be heard. For the first time in history, we saw that the police, as well as the people, are having an in-depth dialogue on some things that need to happen to make the conditions of the people better, as well as the relationship with the people better. And so my concern, I'm speaking on behalf of the people, is equal protection under the law. Police typically have always been border control. Because when a black person is driving their vehicle and they get pulled over, one of the questions they ask is, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Do you have any weapons? Do you have any drugs? So they're controlling my movement. And so we have to start teaching the officers to respect every citizen. I know that the Caucasians, when they get pulled over, it's a different set of questions. They don't even question them. They just tell them, well, sir, I pulled you over because they identified what the problem was, what violation you did. But the black community, they don't get that same respect. And it makes this a hostile interaction between the police as well as the citizens. And then, of course, there's always escalation. And so you get pulled over for one thing, but before it's over and done, once the exchange is done, you got 2, 3, 4, 5 different things that you deal with that when you go to court. And for every offense, there's a fine that goes along with it. And those fines burden a lot of people, because sometimes to pay those fines means not getting your kids school clothes. It means not paying your light bill. It means not having gas. It means not having food. And so we have to be mindful of the burdens that those fines put on people. And so some way, somehow, I think that since the fines are, well, there are often times when you go into those courtrooms, you see the majority being black and brown in those courtrooms. And so the black and brown community is already burdened. So we need to reallocate or redistribute some of that money that fines go towards, and let's put it into the community where it's trying to help people get through situations, get through problems, towards mentoring programs, towards after-school programs. So that's one of my concerns. Those are the cries that I keep hearing from the people in the community. And so we have to do some things different. We have to do some things innovative. We have to redistribute some of the money that's going towards the police department that can actually help and benefit the community as a whole. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. We have 4 minutes. We do want to give the mayor and the chief an opportunity to respond so that we can engage in dialogue. 4 minutes. You can split that however you like. Thank you.
I've already spoken at the city council meeting, so I don't want to rehash any of that. I wanted to talk to you this evening as a mom, a mother, who has children or have children in this community, and as a community advocate. For one thing, I know that for me as a brown mother, I have never had to raise, black boys in this community. So to those of you who have, my hat's off to you and my heart, out to you. But I have raised brown boys in this community. One of my sons, by the time he was 24, he had been stopped over 40 times. And that's not all in Aurora, it's in neighboring communities as well. But, so that's a fact. Was he profiled for the color of his skin? I think he was. I'm not going to go that far in all instances. He was also profiled for the type of vehicle he drove, and because he was a kid. And I mean, a lot of you here were young guys and kind of do stupid things sometimes. But the other thing is that he was never arrested. I don't know, he had a way of talking his way out of it, I don't know. But I don't think he would have had that opportunity if he were black in this community. I didn't do my homework for this meeting, but I've done homework for previous meetings. And one of the things I researched years ago, and I bring this up because my son was at one of these stats, the traffic stops in Aurora, is, what the stats say. And I don't have the latest stats, and that's one question I have is, where can I get the latest stats, and can we have them, publicized? But the stats were like 73.5% people of color stopped in Aurora, as opposed to, the white population. So, anyway, I know our time is short, so I'm just going to leave it there. But thank you. I thank you for listening, because I do feel like, unlike some other opportunities I've had, that people are listening this evening, and I do appreciate that.
A couple minutes left. I'll give you a minute, and then we'll break it to guys. Take a minute.
Hello, everybody. I was speaking last week about why I'm here, and next year I'll be 30 years old. So this year I caught my first case sitting in the parked car bed, a black man literally warming up my car. And then, based on what she said, the black and brown community get targeted the most. I can literally drive around the east side of Aurora and see the gang unit pulling over people in people's driveways and shit. You don't do that type of stuff. Pulling over people in people's driveways. You don't see that happen on the west side of Aurora or where you live, That's like me joining the police force and starting an all-black gang squad of all-black officers, and me going in a white community and pulling over every white kid that I suspect of doing cocaine, heroin, everything. More black kids get targeted for marijuana. The smallest shit, I'm from Chicago. I got pulled over for weed in Chicago, and you know what happened? I went home. But in Aurora, it's different. You gotta target people for the wrong shit. You grew up in Southfield, right? In your truck. See, you come from that type of environment, You got these outsiders, domestic terrorists they're not even from Aurora. They come in our community and terrorize the whole community. I got pulled over for every petty ticket you could think. Tinted windows, not stopping at a stop sign, every single excuse by the same officers. Like, what do you guys do? Do the same officers bring the same tickets to you guys over and over, not stopping at a stop sign, tinted windows? And then, you guys have no accountability. And then another thing, on your YouTube channel, Facebook, is 2 videos of 2 black situations. I feel like you guys target the black community over social media. And then all the white racist people talk about us, call us gangbangers and stuff, That shit hurt, I got nephews and nieces on Facebook sharing these videos of these racist ass police officers, Every single video I watch, I get hurt because I was in that position. I got pulled over recently during March for tinted windows, right when the virus hit. And the officer gave me a warning, just to look in my damn car, that's it. You guys need to get off people's back and leave people the fuck alone. I'm sorry, I got a cuss, but y'all don't have to back up and leave people alone. You don't see the police and the white community terrorize the white community. You need to start doing ride-alongs with these officers. All y'all, start doing ride-alongs with these same officers that terrorize the community. Unless y'all will never see it happen. The body count ain't gonna change nothing at all. You know, recently I was watching a video, and I really wanted to say this because I was so hurt. I watched a video of 4 black males. You know, I sent an email, 4 black males. They got attacked by all these white officers. And it's a white girl in the house recording the whole thing. Soon she said she got the video on camera, the officer turn off his thing and block the phone. That officer's still on y'all's squad, right?
You gotta close out, man.
Y'all need to do better, for real. Y'all need to do better. And Christmas Eve, you need to stop taking pictures of the black community when you're not doing nothing for us. Simple as that.
Yeah. We're gonna close out here and turn over to you. Get him too, then we'll do you too as well.
Okay.
Close out.
First of all, thank you for having this, Mayor, Chief. This is wonderful. My name is Denny. I've been part of the Citizens Police Group for the last, I don't know, 8, 9 years, whatever. I just want to start by saying I think Aurora is an absolutely wonderful city. It's a wonderful place to work, to worship, to raise kids, to volunteer, to do what we do. Now I'm going to say this is my perspective. How many times do you think I've been pulled over in the 35 years I've lived in Aurora? None. I'm also going to tell you that my son didn't either. He's 38 years old. Okay? He's a good kid. It's not about us. How many times do you think I had to have the police come to my house? That's a trick question. Nope, I haven't come one time. My daughter was having a meltdown. My son actually called him. It was a surprise when I opened the door and found 2 officers in my front door. They dealt with the issue professionally. They dealt with us courteously. They diffused the situation, and they told my daughter under no uncertain terms, we'll be back if you don't behave. Now every day, police would get up and they go to work and they put their lives on the line to protect us. All of us. The Aurora Police Department gets literally hundreds of thousands of 911 calls every year. They also get a whole bunch that aren't 911. When they assign those out, the officers that go there have no idea what they're running into. They could get another threat, shooting, or they could get something like my daughter. I'd rather have my daughter. There's no systematic racism in the city of Aurora's police department from my perspective. Are there bad apples? Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Are there negative interactions? Yeah, I would think so. I've heard of several this evening. There are always 2 sides to every story, as my dad would say. He also told me that I needed to listen to and behave when I came to see the police, or they came to see me. Now, I believe very strongly in the rule of law, and that rule of law applies to every one of us. I want to say thank you for allowing me to get up here, and God bless America.
Thanks, Dennis. Final 10 minutes, we're going to turn it over to the leadership of the police, and then at 7:30 we'll close out with the mayor. We really want to be respectful of the time that we told society 50 seconds to close out. Chief Jimmy.
Thanks, everyone. I'm gonna run out of time. I have a lot of notes, so I can't address everyone individually. But what I did was wrote down some themes of things that I wanted to talk about here. Mary, you talked earlier about, old Aurora and the way things were before. I've mentioned this several times, but it's we're mentioning again that I feel like I've worked in, 2 police departments in 2 cities in my life just because of the changes that have happened over time. But what I'm hearing tonight is that it's not enough change. So here's the thing, I heard, culture and change. And so, to give you some idea about, the way policing was in the 90s and the way it was when I came on in 1991, and the way that I learned how to be a police officer, I can tell you that I learned a lot of what not to do by watching other people. I learned in watching people talk down to people, and I thought that I was supposed to act that way as a cop. And I learned very quickly that the good cops, the best cops, were the ones that talked to people and not down at them. And they were the most successful police officers, and knowing, and I've heard it here tonight, many of you said we have a job to do, law enforcement by the nature of the terminology is what we have to do, we have to enforce the law. But I heard respect. I heard you mentioned respect earlier, and that is the culture that I know that, and it didn't start with me, it started with my predecessors, but it's the culture that I've tried to change. And it's about respect. You mentioned about when you walk up to a window, the first thing the cop does when they say, give your driver's license, where are you going? How different that can be in an onset of an interaction when an officer says, hi, my name is, and here's the reason I stopped you, to have some identification. The difference between the way those 2 interactions begin could very well mean the difference of the outcome. So respect is something that I've talked about with my officers, and they can attest to this over the past 5 years. It's about giving respect. So you get this back and forth about respect. Well, I'll give respect if they earn it. If they earn my respect, then I'll give it to them. And what I posit to the officers is, what if instead of waiting to earn it, what if you just gave it freely? So that is the culture we're trying to create. Now here's the interesting part about culture is it doesn't change overnight. Culture it's synonymous with a cruise ship. If you picture a cruise ship and you try to turn a cruise ship, it doesn't just turn. There's this little trim tab at the bottom of the rudder that turns the ship ever so slightly. And I view all of us as that trim tab, trying to move the ship in the right direction. So that's a little bit about culture and how we're trying to change it. I also want to talk about, when you said about, and I use the term over-policing, you said it in a bunch of different ways about being picked on. So one of the first things we did in an attempt to change the culture, prior to, and I'm not trying to be disparaging to former administrations, but it was all about numbers. It was all about counting. How many arrests do you have? That's how we were rated. If I came up with my sergeant and I didn't have any arrests, I didn't have any tickets, then my rating went down. And so we had a culture of productivity, and it was called a point system. And so you had to just keep accumulating points. So that leads to all of the things you were talking about earlier, is that I stop you for one little thing, and then, I don't know, maybe in exchange, then, more tickets come out because, hey, more tickets, more productivity, more points, it keeps the sergeant away. That's the way things used to be, and that's what leads to over-policing. And that is exactly what we stopped. And so this administration, we came in, we said, no more of that. We're taking away this quote point system, and we brought in a new goal, community engagement, because you cannot solve crimes, you cannot keep the community safe without the help of engaging our community. And we can't engage the community if we have a community that doesn't trust us. And so 5 years ago, when we put this team together, this administration, we have tried to change the culture. So I can promise you that we're attempting to change the culture here, but it does take time. So I'll speak to the question that I was asked directly. You use the term accountability, you use the term bad apples. Listen, I don't want any bad apples on my police department. I constantly hear, a couple bad apples spoil the bushel, right? And that's fine, but I'm interested not only in getting rid of those bad apples, but also, finding out why is the tree producing these bad apples? We have to pair the trees. That means that maybe we have to look at the way we're recruiting, to get good people to come on the job. So to answer your question, every police officer that goes out there and violates the law or the Constitution or your civil rights tarnishes my badge, tarnishes the badge of every single police officer who is good and just. And so I don't want them. If I could, I would fire them. I would. I've terminated 4 people in my tenure, 3 of them have gotten their job back. I don't want them here any more than you guys do. And I can also speak to the fact that someone brought up whistleblowing. And our union president is here, and on the board of our union was someone who brought forth a very serious allegation against a police officer. He could speak to, and I won't take up too much time, I just wanted to hit on the highlights here, but about accountability and how we work in tandem to hold officers accountable. And so I'll leave you just with those thoughts about accountability and how important it is to me. And I don't think that we can have a police department that you trust without having that accountability. And I will say the one thing about accountability is the greatest gift that I can give my police officers is sound policy. Is that accountability, is making sure that they are following policy and the law. That's a gift, because those policies are those solid lines that we see on the road. When you leave off the solid line on the road, that indicates danger. That's what policy does. So that's why we hold our officers accountable with policy. Can we be better? Absolutely. That's exactly why we're here. So I'll turn it over if you want to.
We can do this, we can talk right when we're finishing. Are you in president? And we'll turn to the mayor.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Vicky Tavia. I guess I should start with what the union does and what it doesn't do. The only thing the union does is ensure that everyone's treated fairly. If this person does a violation, they get a 1-day suspension. This guy doesn't come back with the same violation, it should be the same punishment. Fairness. Make sure the process is followed and nothing more. What we don't do is we don't hire, we don't train, we don't discipline, we don't terminate people. All of my members are chosen by me, or chosen for me by the department. Okay, so I'm limited. I don't have the ability to say, I only want these people to be in my union. Okay. The chief may have fired 4 people, but there have been many, many other people who she didn't have to fire because the union said, you gotta go. You have to go. And there's nothing that this union can do to protect you. Nothing. I tell every new hire who starts that being a member of this union is not an insurance policy to commit misconduct. If you're not going to follow the rules, if you're going to make me exhaust all of my time and effort, I don't need you. Okay? Because I have a full-time job as well. I'm a police officer. This union thing is a part-time thing. So I just want to make it very clear that this police officers union has no tolerance for people who go out and violate people's rights or to violate the rules. And being someone who myself has turned in police officers who committed misconduct and then has been elected by the members of the union to represent them. They're not looking for a couple of parts. All they want is a person who's going to represent their interests, be honest and straightforward with them and upfront. And that's all I can offer. That's all I do. That's the only thing that I have in my track record. So, just a very brief tidbit about the police officer union. You know, I'll finish up the close summer report. I want to address the question Mary Folks had about COVID, because that's something that has been affecting our whole community, this pandemic. And what a lot of people don't know is there are different layers of government, different layers of government have jurisdiction. And we have this healthcare issue that affects the whole county, all 40 counties of Aurora sits in, and the whole state and the whole country. We have departments that handle that are outside the city's purview. So, Mayor, to answer that question, I asked the young lady what does the mayor do about COVID? The mayor doesn't have jurisdiction over COVID, but the health department does. I'm not sure which county she lives in. The young lady she asked about, but we have 4 different counties, so that question has to be asked to that county health department official about contact tracing and making sure that the individuals that have COVID and identify with COVID, that they're in contact with and traced, so all those individuals can be let know that they were in contact. Now, they're not going to get that person's name because there are HIPAA laws or medical laws that say that you can't give a person's name or medical condition, but you can tell that person that you've been in contact with someone with COVID. So, Mary, please have that young lady if she's concerned. It sounds like she is about the individual in that apartment complex that has COVID, he has to contact the health department and to the accommodation center. Now, to everything tonight, as I said, this is our last nearly listening session. You know, and I won't lie to you, I haven't enjoyed every minute, every day that I've sat. There's some hard questions, man. And for me, my police department, the older, for our city as a whole, there have been some stark, difficult criticisms. You know, me and all the folks I just talked about. However, no matter how harsh the criticism is, if you have a gripe or an issue with the city or the police department, it's our responsibility as public servants to listen. No matter how much it hurts me when you say something, no matter how much I may not agree with you, it's your right to say it. It's our ability, our opportunity to give you, our community, our residents, a voice. When I was elected mayor, I said one of the things I wanted to do, especially for my black community, was to give us a seat at the table we had not had a seat before, where we were actually out amongst you listening instead of judging you from some tables behind some chairs in front of you, talking down to you, but talking with you and listening to you. So whatever issue that we have in the world, we can address that issue. But unless we talk about it, unless we know where the problem is, we can never fix it. Change initiative, we had people come out, they made 60 recommendations, and we're looking to implement as many as we possibly can. But some of the ones we implemented first off was the Citizen Review Board, which will be up and running in early 2021. Body cameras. Later this year, we'll do some test cases with a few officers and implement it fully in early second quarter 2021. These are things that the community asked for, and we are delivering. So when people say that nothing has changed, it actually is changing. Now, it may not be happening overnight, and they may not be happening at the pace that folks want it to. But as the chief pointed out, we've got a culture that has existed for decades that we're trying to change. And it doesn't just take a sharp right or a sharp left. The change is gradual. But I tell you what, we're going to make a change as fast as we possibly can in this city. We're going to do our part. And the first part is giving you a voice and letting you listen. So I want to thank you all for coming out. And many of you that have come out to most of these, let us hear what's on your heart, what's on your mind. So we can work with you, our community, to make a difference. Community helping Aurora's necessary growth and empowerment. You're the community, you're helping all of us, Aurora. We're helping to empower the community by listening to what you have to say. And we'll continue to do that as long as I sit this. So you guys have a good night. Thank you again for coming out. I hope to talk to you all soon.
Thanks everyone for coming out.